Billionaire Leon Copperman says the stock market would drop 25% if Elizabeth Warren is elected president of the United States. I want to go ahead and talk about this, guys. I want to talk about what Leon Copperman said and why he thinks the stock market would drop so much. And I want to talk about kind of my opinion on his opinion. And I'm going to talk about if I think the stock market would drop 25% if Elizabeth Warren is elected president of the United States, okay? Quote, if Elizabeth Warren is elected president, in my opinion, the market drops 25%, Cooperman told CNBC Squawk Box. Bernie Sanders saying things. So first off, he's not just saying Elizabeth Warren, he's saying Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. If either Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders gets into office, the stock market is going to drop 25%, which, keep in mind, the stock market was to drop 25%. That means many stocks out there would drop far further than 25%, okay? It would be pretty ugly, okay? Warren has risen in some recent polls to the top of the crowded Democratic field, which that field is ridiculous. There's so many individuals in there, it's insane. Her wealth tax has become a rallying force. It calls for an annual 2% tax on wealth over $50 million and 3% on wealth over $1 billion. Taxpayers would be expected to estimate the current value of everything from cars to real estate to art, private equity portfolios, and private businesses, okay? This is crazy. This wealth tax is absolutely crazy. And it might sound really, really cool until like you start to realize like this is absolutely the most insane thing ever, okay? What Warren does not understand, okay, is number one, most people that are in the super rich, okay, the people that have $50 million plus, they don't just have massive loads of cash sitting around, okay? They didn't get massively rich because they had massive loads of cash sitting around. I can promise you that, okay? They actually have very little liquid money sitting around. Their wealth is tied up in real estate, it's tied up in stocks, it's tied up in bonds, art, jewelry, and being that their wealth is tied up in these type of products, mass selling would need to happen every single year just to pay for the tax. So imagine you have a net worth of $100 million, okay? And you have to pay this 2 or 3% tax. So every single year, every 12 months that goes by, you need to get $2 to $3 million together that you basically pay out just in taxes alone, okay? And keep in mind, you probably don't have a ton of cash sitting on the sideline. Once again, super rich people don't keep a ton of cash around, okay? They have their money tied up in assets, okay? Real estate, stocks, bonds, those sorts of things. Or actually, it's just like their wealth is tied up in their business. So their business might be worth $100 million, but that doesn't mean they have $100 million. This just means if they sold their business, they would have $100 million. So then you have to worry about, I'm going to constantly sell ownership stakes in different companies I own. I'm going to constantly have to sell off stocks or real estate every single year just to pay this wealth tax, okay? It is a pretty crazy thing, needless to say. Mass amounts of selling would need to happen every single year, okay? Also, I don't think what Elizabeth Warren realizes is super rich. They can do some things like move, okay? They can literally move to another country to avoid that tax. Like, does she not realize, like, the rich are, I mean, especially if you're talking about people that have 50 million, 100 million, you know, $1 billion, these type of individuals, you think they want to give up 3% of their wealth and constantly have to worry about, oh, I need to sell off this asset, now I need to sell off this, just to pay tax? That's absolutely insane. They could move to Monaco where they pay no taxes, okay? They can move to Hong Kong and go join the protesters. They're a lot more tax friendly there. They could literally move to so many different places where they wouldn't have to worry about a ridiculous wealth tax like this, and it would be very easy for them to pull this off rather than having to worry about constantly, oh, I need to sell this, I need to sell that just to cover these taxes. Like, it's absolutely insane, okay? Elizabeth Warren, you got to just like realize what's going on here, okay? Cooperman, chairman and CEO of Omega Advisors, takes issue with what he calls Warren's, quote, war on billionaires. He says, quote, I believe in a progressive income tax structure. I believe rich people should pay more. I have no problem with that. This wealth tax is baloney, he says, okay? He says, quote, you don't make poor people rich by making rich people poor, he added, citing Winston Churchill. The main vice of capitalism is the unequal distribution of prosperity. The main vice of socialism is the equal distribution of misery. Very well said, Mr. Cooperman. Like, you couldn't have said it better. Just well said. I'm just going to leave it at that, okay? Warren said at Tuesday night's Democratic debate that she doesn't have, quote, a beef with billionaires, but added that if you make it to the top, you need to, quote, pitch in to help other children reach the same opportunity, okay? Let's talk about this little pitch in, and then we're going to get into, like, if I think the stock market would drop 25% plus if Elizabeth Warren is elected president, okay? So let's talk about pitching in, okay? Jeff Bezos, so he's, you know, obviously the face of the super rich, right? He's the face of the super rich, you know, net worth of $100+ billion, you know, the leader of Amazon, the CEO there, the biggest shareholder, the richest guy in the world, okay? He's the face of the super rich. Amazon employs like over 600,000 employees, and then, you know, as of now, they're probably approaching 700,000 employees, and many of those jobs are in the United States of America. And this whole thing about the rich don't pitch in, okay? And Elizabeth Warren, excuse me, ma'am, but how many jobs have you created? Have you created 700,000 jobs? No, you probably haven't even created 10 jobs, okay? So slow your roll about they don't pitch in. Look who's the actual ones creating the jobs. Look at who's the ones actually paying the taxes, okay? The top 1% paid a greater share of individual income taxes than the bottom 90% combined in the United States of America. The top 1% paid more than the bottom 90% combined, okay? So Elizabeth Warren, the rich don't, you know, chip in, they don't have their fair share, blah, blah, blah. They're the ones paying literally all the taxes, pretty much in the United States of America, and they're literally the ones creating all the jobs. So this whole thing about, oh, they don't help out or something like that, it's like, it's absolutely ridiculous, okay? It's just absolutely ridiculous, okay? Education and faster economic growth is the answer to the country's inequality problem, said Cooperman. At the end of the day, capitalism is what distinguishes America, okay? And, you know, I'll just say, you know, if you want to make people a lot richer, teach them about business and teach them about investing so they have a mindset of being able to, you know, start their own businesses and things like that, because that's the easiest, or that's the most realistic way to actually achieving, you know, a good level of wealth if you start your own business or something like that, and you're not just like working at Walmart as like a cashier, because that's going to be really hard. And also teaching people about investing so they can actually like make their money into money and understand like the power of compounding and things like that. We don't do either of those in the education system. If you really want to, you know, amp up people, start teaching them about business, start teaching them about investing, and we'll get a lot further in this game for those individuals, okay? But let's go ahead and talk about the stock market in general. So, you know, Leon Copperman's talking about 25% drop. So we're talking about maybe a, you know, a fall to like 20,000 for the Dow, maybe even down to 18,000. We'd have to see. That's what he's talking about there. And when I think about this, would the stock market drop 25%? It is very much a possibility, but I don't think it would happen overnight. I don't think this is a situation where all of a sudden, you know, let's say Elizabeth Warren is elected president, or Bernie Sanders is one of these individuals that he thinks, you know, the stock market would drop 25%. If one of those individuals were elected president, I don't think all of a sudden the stock market opens up the next day and it's down 25% or something like that. I think it would be a gradual fall over the course of 1 to 2 years, and it's very possible the stock market could fall to those levels, okay? But here's the thing, just because you have plans as going in as a president doesn't mean you'll even execute those plans, okay? So that's a big thing to understand here. So let's say Elizabeth Warren has this plan to, you know, tax, you know, this ridiculous wealth tax and things like that. Just because she has that going in doesn't mean she's going to be able to pull that off and get that through the government and whatnot and actually get that enacted. So that's something to keep in mind here. I know a lot of people, you know, hear these different plans from individuals and they think, oh, they're going to, you know, raise taxes to insane levels or things like that. Sometimes it doesn't even make it through, okay? So in my opinion, could the stock market drop if she's elected, quite substantially over a period of time? It's a possibility. But keep in mind, just because she has plans going in doesn't mean those plans would actually happen, okay? It's just something really important to understand there. Not a lot of people realize, okay? And I'm just going to leave the video with this here today. United States population, we're about to hit 330 million people living here in the United States. And if we look at our 3 presidential candidates we really have to pick from, we have Mr. Trump, Mr. Twitter himself, Mr. Everybody's doing fake news and I'm the greatest president ever, like he said several times, okay? We have to choose from him or Joe Biden, who literally, oh my gosh, I think the guy, you know, Sleepy Joe is probably a pretty good nickname for him. Like, I've watched some interviews with him and I just don't think he's fully there, I'll be completely honest. Or Elizabeth Warren, who wants to, have this insane wealth tax. tax. And, you know, they're saying Trump's on easy win. But I'm like, really, 330 million people, and you're telling me these are our three candidates we realistically have to pick from in the United States of America. These are the three that actually have a decent chance, you know, the probabilities are that they will win, okay? And I'm like, America, can we do better than this? And there's only one thing. There's only one thing that can fix this. Only one thing, okay? And that is smashing the like button.